America is a very big place. You can drive for days and see nothing but corn or trees or more road, but sometimes, tucked away in a quiet corner, you find something truly baffling, something that makes you pull over and blink a few times. Centralia, Pennsylvania is one of those places. It's a town that has been on fire for over 60 years, not the buildings, mind you. The very ground beneath your feet is burning. It's a slow, stubborn, underground fire like a dragon taking a very long nap. Imagine that. A whole town sitting on top of a barbecue that never gets turned off. It's an idea so strange, so utterly American in its accidental grandeur, that you just have to see it for yourself. Before the fire, Centralia was just another small town in Pennsylvania's coal country. It was a perfectly ordinary place filled with perfectly ordinary people. They worked hard in the mines, raised their families, and probably complained about the weather. The town had shops, schools, and a sense of community built on generations of shared experience. Life was simple, predictable, and revolved around the rich veins of anthracite coal that lay buried deep in the earth. This wasn't a place where strange things were supposed to happen. It was a steady, unassuming dot on the map, a place you would drive through without giving it a second thought, which is perhaps the greatest irony of all. The strangeness started quietly, almost comically. It wasn't a big bang or a dramatic explosion that doomed the town. It was something far more mundane, a problem with the local landfill. In May 1962, the town council decided to clean up the dump before the Memorial Day celebration. It was a common practice back then. You set the trash on fire, let it burn down, and then put it out. Simple, right? Except this landfill was located in an abandoned strip mine pit. And that strip mine pit unfortunately had an unsealed opening leading directly into the sprawling labyrinthine network of old coal mines that riddled the ground beneath Centralia. A careless fire met a world of fuel. No one knows for sure if it was the landfill fire that did it, though it's the leading theory. Whatever the spark, it found its way into the coal seam. At first nobody noticed. A fire burning hundreds of feet underground doesn't exactly announce itself. But then, strange things started to happen. Smoke began to curl up from odd places, like a backyard garden or a crack in the road. Basements filled with deadly carbon monoxide. The ground grew warm to the touch, even in winter. The people of Centralia were living on a stove, and someone had just turned the burner to low, a slow-cooking disaster that would take decades to unfold. The fire itself is a masterpiece of slow-motion catastrophe. Think of it less as a raging inferno and more as a relentless, smoldering beast. The anthracite coal under Centralia is incredibly dense and energy-rich, meaning it burns very, very slowly but also very, very hot. Once ignited, it doesn't need much oxygen to keep going. It just sits there, creeping along the coal seams, a subterranean monster consuming its world 1 inch at a time. Experts believe the fire stretches for miles underground, following the veins of coal like a subway system from hell. There's enough coal down there to fuel this fire for another 250 years. That's not a typo. 250 years. Trying to put the fire out was a lesson in futility. In the early days, they tried everything you could think of. They pumped millions of gallons of water down boreholes, which likely just turned to steam and did nothing. They tried to dig it out, creating vast trenches to cut off the fire's path, but the fire was always one step ahead, burrowing deeper or finding a new path. They tried to smother it by backfilling the mines with a slurry of ash, sand, and water. The fire just laughed and kept on burning. It was like trying to put out a forest fire with a water pistol. The problem was too big, too deep, and too stubborn for human solutions. The real danger wasn't just the heat, it was the ground itself. As the fire consumed the coal seams below, it created vast, empty voids. The earth above became unstable, prone to sudden and terrifying collapse. In 1981, the ground famously opened up in a backyard and nearly swallowed a 12-year-old boy named Todd Domboski. He was saved only by grabbing onto a tree root. Imagine standing in your yard one moment and dangling over a steaming 150-foot deep pit of noxious gases the next. That's when the reality truly set in. The town wasn't just on fire, it was actively trying to eat its residents. This led to the Great Exodus. The federal government, finally admitting defeat, allocated over $42 million in 1983 to relocate the residents. It was a voluntary program, but what choice did they have? Stay and risk your house collapsing into a fiery chasm, or take the money and leave your home forever? Most people left. The town was slowly dismantled, house by house. The government acquired the properties, bulldozed them, and let nature begin its slow reclamation. By the 1990s, a town of over 1,000 people had dwindled to just a handful of stubborn holdouts, living in a ghost town of their own making. Visiting Centralia today is a profoundly strange experience. You drive through the lush green hills of Pennsylvania, and then suddenly, the landscape changes. You see empty streets that lead nowhere, grids of pavement disappearing into overgrown fields. Where houses once stood, there are now just patches of meadow and young trees. It feels like a town that was erased, but the ghosts of its foundations remain. You can still see sidewalks that end abruptly and lonely fire hydrants standing guard over nothing. It's a quiet, eerie place where the only sounds are the wind in the trees and the distant chirping of birds. A stark contrast to the inferno raging silently beneath your feet. The most famous landmark for a time was the Graffiti Highway. This was a mile-long stretch of Route 61 that had been abandoned because the fire made it buckle and crack. Over the years, visitors turned its broken asphalt into a sprawling, ever-changing canvas of spray-painted art. It was a bizarrely beautiful and colorful scar on the landscape, a testament to human creativity in the face of destruction. People would walk its length, reading the messages, admiring the drawings, and leaving their own mark. Sadly, in 2020 the highway was covered with dirt by the property owner to discourage tourism, burying a unique piece of folk art under tons of earth. Even without the highway, the signs of the fire are everywhere if you know where to look. On a cold or damp day, you can see plumes of steam rising from cracks in the ground, looking like lost souls escaping to the surface. Certain areas are completely barren, the soil too hot for anything to grow. You might find metal objects that have been warped by the subterranean heat or see the shimmer of heat rising from an otherwise normal-looking patch of dirt. It's a constant, unsettling reminder that the ground you are walking on is not solid and stable. It is a thin crust over a slow-burning apocalypse. The few remaining residents are the true heart of the Centralia story. A handful of people refused to leave, fighting the government for the right to stay in their homes. They argued that their particular properties were on stable ground, away from the fire's main path. After decades of legal battles, they won the right to live out their lives in their homes, after which the properties will revert to the state. These residents are symbols of pure, unadulterated stubbornness and a deep love for a home that the world has written off. They are the last living connection to the town that was. So why do people come here? Centralia has become a pilgrimage site for a certain type of traveler. The urban explorer, the photographer, the lover of all things weird and forgotten. It's not a theme park. There are no guided tours or souvenir shops. The attraction is the raw, uncurated reality of the place. Visitors come to witness the strange beauty of decay and nature's reclamation. They come to feel the thrill of standing on a spot that is actively, if slowly, burning. It's a chance to see the direct consequences of a bizarre accident, a real-life cautionary tale etched into the landscape. The beauty is strange and undeniable. It's the site of a brilliant green forest growing over the grid of a forgotten town. It's the vibrant, chaotic color of the now-buried Graffiti Highway, a memory of defiance. It's the wisps of steam curling into the cold morning air, a visual representation of the immense power hidden just out of sight. This place is dangerous, of course. The ground can still collapse, and the air in some spots is thick with harmful gases like carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide. But this very danger adds to its mystique, making it a place that feels wild and untamed. In the end, Centralia is more than just a burning town, it's a profound lesson. It teaches us about the unforeseen consequences of our actions. A simple act of burning trash, combined with forgotten industrial history, created a fire that will outlive everyone who saw it start. It's a stark reminder of the immense power of nature and the limits of our ability to control it. We can build towns and dig mines, but a single spark can set in motion a chain of events that we are powerless to stop. Centralia shows us how quickly our world can be undone, and how stubbornly life and fire can endure. The town stands as a living monument to impermanence. It tells us that even the most solid and dependable things, the ground beneath our feet, the town we call home, can be taken away. It is a modern-day Pompeii, preserved not by ash from above but consumed by fire from below. It asks us to consider what we leave behind and how fragile our footprint on the earth really is. And it reminds us that sometimes the most fascinating stories are not found in history books, but are still being written silently and slowly, in the forgotten corners of the world, smoldering just beneath the surface.